Hey everybody, it's the 13th of February, 2025. This is Gimbalabs Live Open Spaces. We get together on Thursdays to make plans, talk about what we're going to do next. Demi will take questions in just a moment. What we do on Thursdays is we open up this Notion board right here. The links are in the chat. There's a public version that anybody can view, and there's an editable version that people can get access to. And we review our list of projects. The projects fall into these categories. There's new proposals, there's stuff we're planning to do. There's a backlog of stuff that might be nice to do someday if we have time. There's proposals that are up for review and consent, and this is where we spend most of our time. And then we can always review the work in progress. And we usually spend the last Thursday of every month reviewing these projects that are already underway. So we can ignore these for today and really jump right into community review and consent. What we have here are three different proposals regarding Gimbalabs DRep voting. There's the one we've been working on. This one looks like it just showed up. So if anybody wants to claim ownership of that, just let us know. And I drafted a proposal with reasoning for voting yes. We also have a proposal from Demi, and I'll put this here. You shared a link, and I'll grab that in just a second. But this looks like the main agenda for today. And since we have a lot of people who have been engaged in the DREP work leaving early to join the budgeting meeting, we're going to start here with the DREP proposals. And then after we get through these, Demi will kick it over to you to bring your proposal to the team. Any questions about our agenda for today? Awesome. So opening these up, this is the one where we've been taking notes the last few weeks. Did anybody refine this one, or is this still basically raw notes?
I think it was the other one that was built on the vote on the Constitution.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was the first one that we did a while back,
And
and
so there's
then
this one.
yeah, this is one that we've been taking notes on the last few weeks, and
Great.
we posted some things in there. There's a couple of rationales that I found that we linked to, um, you know, trying to fill out the basically to try to help you to write the rationale or to help Gimbal Labs write its rationale for its vote,
Cool.
to collect the clarifying and objections and whatnot.
And Steve, what do you think?
Um, like this was the proposal when we first started talking about being a DREP as a community, and since we is a DREP,
Right.
then I suggest we're just gonna put it in the done category. It's kind of served its purposes, the talking point, but the reality is we are, so there's nothing about this proposal that needs.
This one. This was the original one that
Yeah,
said we should be a
Yeah,
DREP in the first place. This kind of
yeah.
happened.
right.
Right. Let's put this one as in progress. There is some really interesting stuff to return to here. Because so far we've been talking a lot about the decision-making side of things. I think there's still some interesting technical conversations ahead of us, right? It's one thing to consent in a space like this and then to trust an individual to place that decision on chain. But it would be really nice to have the ability for all of us to register our approval of a DREP, of a Gimbalabs DREP action using the tools at hand. So there's
Well,
technical work ahead, but these are the initial notes.
I don't know where y'all are in your technical thoughts about it, but because that will be work, I kind of feel like the writing out of whatever technical specs that end up being developed, that should be paid, and maybe that should be a different proposal.
Totally.
That's That's just
Yeah,
my
yeah,
thought right now.
All right,
yeah.
sweet.
I feel like
Should we call
yeah,
this done then for now?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
You guys see.
We
the
have a
difference between yeah, the difference between done and in progress. I feel like both could work. Um, but in general, it's we can go back to that when we start having the DREP conversation. There are a lot of good notes on like what James was saying, the technical side, and a lot of tooling ideas and what being a DREP, could mean for Gimbalabs and etc. So yeah, so wherever we put it, let's remember there's really good, context in there around the DREP conversation.
Because Simon and I are going to this meeting and it's about DREP compensation, and I just real quick, I don't want to dwell on it. I'm just kind of curious how everybody feels about that, whether they think DREP should be compensated or not, and just so that I have a general idea of, you know,
Do a round in the
Yeah,
chat.
because I'm sitting there,
I
Oh,
don't,
this-
I don't, uh, like, I don't know. I'm kind of impartial on the whole thing, but ultimately, I'd say that right now is not a good time to compensate DReps because, like, the governance mechanism is just now kicking on. We should probably really figure out the bugs and how we're governing right now versus like how we're going to pay representatives before our system is even working and we know that it works. It's like putting the cart before the horse, right? So that's my that's my issue on it. And then also on the paper that I read, I mentioned it to you, Steve, I think, or somewhere, that the paper that I read, every civil attack is used to maintain the status quo. If something is prone to a civil attack, they will use that excuse instead of building something out that makes it infinitely difficult
Right.
to use that civil attack. They'll just say, no, it's prone to civil attack, can't use it, period. And so that just maintains the status quo. And because the research I've seen that came from either Intersect or CF said that top DReps are the ones that should be compensated. And so you tell me how that's fair for people that are starting out at the bottom.
Yeah, no,
versus people that already have micro communities and stuff with built-in delegates already. So that's my position.
cool. Martin, what are your feelings?
Yeah, basically, if you are taking it as a full-time job, DREP, you got to eat somehow. And if you are not getting paid, you're getting paid by somebody else, and maybe that somebody else is not representing the best interest of everybody. So yeah, it's difficult to say how much you should compensate somebody, but yeah, you leave people vulnerable to like the civil attacks if people don't get compensated.
Simon.
All right. So first, I want to say I've been at the Cardano Tech Week hackathon, and there we decided to pick up exactly this this topic, the DREP incentivization. And so, as Art just said, that we shouldn't do it now, and kind of agree with it, but also on the other hand, it would take a while, to get to where we can put it into the protocol. And I think it would only make sense to put it into the protocol, right? If we do it outside the protocol, I wouldn't want that. Then the top DReps to be compensated, I want to say that this is actually where we're going. I wrote a paper about this, and the paper suggests that the top DReps, that this is like the most efficient way to do it. And it might not be the fairest, but efficiency is, in my opinion, a higher goal than being fair. I would love to hear like maybe what you think about that, SR.
Yeah, personally, I don't think the community paying DReps prevents outside people paying DReps. There's no way to enforce that, or it's not an argument in my view. I think that being a DRep should be considered a service, and there's two thoughts that go around in this community, and I think DReps are a good use case to do something on chain that is talked about, as a problem in Cardano that I don't see as a problem, but you know, um, I think if we want to emphasize service to this community when it comes to governance, and like right now, I'm sorry.
But
There are several info actions up right now. A couple of them really are going to need some thought and energy to look at, and it may really end up being real work to keep up with the number of things that are being applied for from the Treasury, and really weighty decisions in terms of governance. I I think then if we can kill two birds with one stone by trying to come up with some concept of quadratic DREP compensation. And then that helps bring people in to the discussion as an entry point, and because we have hundreds of DREPs, in the Southern Hemisphere with basically no delegation, but they have very sincere interest and desire to work their way into this community, and I think it's a good way to do it. And the big DREPs, when you look at the ones that are known, they're fine. But it's not like they need money, I mean, in that very real sense. And they are representing really huge communities that are already in one way or another paying them, whether they're YouTube creators or whatever it is. And I think that we should try to flatten whale building, beyond the natural advantages of being a whale by trying to do a flat participation rate in being a DREP. But I don't know how viable that is. I definitely don't think that Intersect or anybody like that should be administering the funds to pay DREPs. And like that frightens the hell out of me. I'd rather no compensation forever than anything like that. To me, it's got to be on chain.
But I just one more thing before I lower my hand. I feel like if they, do the work, and if they do the, if they're providing a service, or if they're servicing the community, however you put it, they're doing the work, right? And I think for doing work, you should get compensation. Like this is the incentive that everyone is talking about, right? If you're not incentivized to do the work, well, then you're not doing the work as well, in my opinion. But I just wanted to put that out there. Now I'm gonna
it's hard for me. I've been in the community for 5 years, and I've really never really tried to make money from it. And it's just because I'm interested. It's that important to me that I want to stay involved and throw my thoughts in when I have them. And I don't, investment wise, I have a lot of reasons to not want to see this community collapse. Everybody else has the same interest. And I think self-interest is enough motivation, but that's just my opinion. Andrew.
Yeah, there was something you said, Steve. That's how I agreed. It was kind of be my point. So I was about to put my hand down, but I thought I'd keep it up. Yeah, the whole thing around DReps, it makes me feel a bit uncomfortable anyway. It makes me feel like we're building legacy system 2.0. MPs or senators if you have in the US. It makes me feel funny, but the thing I really didn't like was the idea of Intersect having a budget for it or paying out of it. That was definitely something I feel strongly about, and I don't really feel comfortable saying yes to the direct conversation as it stands at the moment. I think there's something better we need to be a bit more clear on it. It needs to be on chain. Yeah.
Steve, you got enough to bring?
I'm good. I'm curious what you think about DREP compensation. That's actually one of those things we've never talked about.
I'm of two full minds about it. One, I recognize that historically, if an elected representative is not paid sufficiently, graft follows. So that is a precedent, and people have already said that in this conversation, right? If you're not getting paid, but you're working hard on it, somebody's going to pay you. So I recognize that fully. And I also recognize that there is, at this moment, no layer one way to implement it without taking those funds from elsewhere, right? So it's a hard technical problem. And that's why I think it's best left ambiguous at this moment. I think we should name what history has taught us about paying representatives while also being honest about the tech that needs to be built. And therefore, we have to, it has to be just top of mind. But I don't think it's something that we should act on at this moment. Demi.
Hey guys. Sorry, am I audible? I hope my mic doesn't sound muffled.
Yeah, we got you.
Right. So, this is one conversation that I have had in a few Twitter spaces, and I've heard a series of uh, different points and opinions, and my take on the issue is that I think before we consider incentivizing the reps in a way, we need to carefully implement it in such a way that is impregnable and is it wouldn't lead to a way where it will be gamified to the disadvantage of making decisions for the for the blockchain itself and for the it's like you said, James. I think it is important that in my opinion, DReps get incentivized in some way because there's a lot of work, and I believe I'm actually a strong believer that hard work should be compensated. However, there is the issue of DReps finding ways to milk, because at this point I think it should be coming from the treasury, right? Just milk the treasury however they can. We have people that could create multiple DRep accounts. We have people running AI as DReps. We need to set proper structure mitigating these issues. Otherwise, over time, it would just become catastrophic, right? And when we speak about this community, we have a lot of people, yelling back, saying, "Oh, it's what's it called? It's a slap to decentralization. There should be, but decentralization doesn't necessarily mean disorderliness or creating a structure that would fail in the future, right? The decision of implementing that structure that would not be catastrophic should be decentralized. but the decision itself um, uh, should be to the growth and development, right, of the community and the blockchain itself, right? So I think right now we have to spend significant time ensuring that we build a system that we won't look, our children in the future won't look at at um, at us right now and say, "How did you guys let this happen?" I mean, you saw this. You have a lot of smart people in the ecosystem that saw this and then they let it happen. So we need to spend significant time ensuring that we build the right structure in place to prevent certain issues, in the future.
All right. So Steve had to jump. Hopefully he takes some of those notes with him. And it's good to get a chance to talk about these things. Is it okay if we shift over to some proposals on the table? So we talked last week about the need to actually make a vote. And my main goal is to make sure that Gimbalabs does register a vote before it's complete. And it's getting close to complete, right? We're getting close to that 75% threshold. It was at about 69% when I looked this morning. So there's urgency just to make sure we get a vote in. I would rather have a yes or a no vote than an abstention, personally. I think it's important for us to come to a decision, whether it's a strong yes or a strong no, and bring that justification. And that's why I wrote a proposal as promised. So I wrote a proposal to vote yes. I wrote this proposal to vote yes because I had to decide. I had to pick one. And that's on all of us, right? To at least have a strong opinion about this. Ultimately, if we vote no, I'm fine with that too, as long as we vote. And so the reason I wrote this proposal is just to bring something to the table that everybody else here can push back against. And that's what I'd like to bring to all of you right now. So here's the proposal. It's on the Notion board and it follows our format. So I'd like to just run through this and treat this with the process that we've been using, the consent-based decision-making process, where we can all ask clarifying questions. We'll do a round, and then people will voice their objections or consent to this proposal as it's written. So let's see how this goes. We have a primary driver. I think a lot of people here are familiar with it, but just to reiterate, what we've worked on and what we revalidated in January is that our goal is to provide open, replicable, safe spaces to learn, to explore, and to empower individuals and organizations anywhere so that we can solve meaningful problems. And this is the driver that I crafted to go with my justification for voting yes. We are running experiments in shared governance among this loose collective of stakeholders, all of us with different amounts of time and abilities to commit to the shared work we're doing. One of the experiments we're running is we're trying to figure out whether this consent process that we've been practicing is a good way to make decisions about how a DRep will vote. Is it possible to use this structure for all of the governance actions that pass through the global Cardano blockchain? Is it possible for us to set this model of taking on a consent-based process to each one as it goes through and then registering those decisions on chain? Now, the first decision we have to make is this big one. How should we vote on the proposal to replace the interim constitution with the one that's currently on the table and that was drafted and ratified by the community in 2024? I think this is an important note because I think that this might be one of the hardest ones to come to consent on, and we might find out that it's not possible. But as we get to more specific and targeted proposals, I'm excited about the opportunity to repeat this process no matter what happens today. I'm excited to keep testing this model as we move into kind of the finer points of governance phase. That's the future of Cardano. So I think we should vote yes. By doing so, we will state that the new Constitution is good enough for now and safe enough to try. A yes vote would be aligned with the pragmatic approach that historically has defined Gimbalabs since its founding in 2020. We do things, we start things, we fail at things, we do a bad job at things, but we embrace trying something, taking a step so that we can make progress. And we have all sorts of work that we've done that started out small and dramatically imperfect and has evolved over time. We have projects that are on the back burner, like the Gimbal token, that is absolutely insufficient. It's not complete, but it's waiting there for us to pick it up. By taking this pragmatic approach, we learn. And when we learn, we can then improve. And so I think a yes vote is a chance to say that we want to drive experimentation forward. Personally, I recognize the current Constitution as imperfect, but even more than that, personally, I'm tired of talking about it and speculating about it. I'd rather have something that's not sufficient out there so that we can all live with it and find out what it's like to live with it and not speculate, but test hypotheses, gather that experimental data, and then improve from there. I think if we do, then we're more likely to deliver on this driver. There's going to be spaces where we need to talk about what's happening with this current Constitution, empower ourselves to understand the problems, keep defining the work to be done, and then doing the work to solve those. So that's the driver. Yes vote, that's what I'm thinking. Here's a link to the action, and here I'm just kind of reiterating it, right? Since the founding of Gimbalabs, we continually choose to experiment and get started. Those were the first words we put on the initial version of the Gimbalabs website. Let's get started, right? We think that if somebody takes the first step, right? You've heard the phrase, going from 0 to 1 is the hardest thing. Once you start, taking step 2 and 3 and 4 is successively easier. But we've got to start. That's how we got this far. And that's what made Gimbalabs what it is, this imperfect thing that it is right now. By voting yes, we embrace the challenges ahead fearlessly, right? And we continue to create space to learn and to iterate. An approved constitution is going to move the entire Cardano community closer to that reality. Speculation is scary. Hard empirical data, you can do something with that. That's personally what I want. I want us to move beyond this speculative phase and into the real work. So I think voting yes is the way to do it. So the outcome, I think we should vote yes on this governance action. I think as a community, we should continue our groundbreaking work of designing new systems that embrace experimentation, that embrace imperfection, and encourage everyone to just get better every day. And we're going to continue to test ways to refine this process. If we consent to this proposal today, I'd be willing to submit this as early as today. So it's in by the end of the epoch that ends in a few hours. We can draw on the text here to pull some rationale into the on-chain message. Impact, like I've said, this is what I've been reiterating. I think the impact of voting yes is that we embrace pragmatism, imperfection, and experimentation. We evaluate this proposal right down here. These details are minimal, right? Did we cast a vote? I hope we do. But in the long term, will we keep learning? This takes about an hour of my time, probably a little bit less, but I like doing things by hand on the CLI, and I'll document it in PPBL format when I do. I'm even happy to share screen and do that later today if anybody wants to hang around and do that. Responsibilities, it's just a little bit of my time to get this done once it represents a decision that everybody made. Obviously, there's risks. I didn't take time to write those down, but if people want to add them, we can. and review and adaptation. I didn't write anything here because it's a matter of, right, we're going to be reviewing this decision for the long term, finding out, right, if success happens or if our biggest fears come true. So that's my proposal. And so the way this works is after somebody shares a proposal like I just did, we can open it up first to a round of clarifying questions. And we're going to do 3 rounds. One, you can put your hand up if you have any questions just about the words on the page here. If anything is not clear to you or you don't understand what's written, first round is the chance to ask questions about that. Then we'll go to an open round where everybody gets to share just their initial thoughts on the proposal. Like it, don't like it, that kind of thing. And I'll call out everybody like we did for the opening circle to do that part. And then after that, the third round will be for objections. And if you object to this proposal, you can offer feedback on how to turn it into a proposal that you wouldn't object to. Once there are no objections, then we would say that this is consented to and we would move forward. If there are unresolved objections at the end of this process, then the proposal is incomplete and we'll have to revisit it next week and try to get to something that we do consent to. Does anybody have questions about the next 3 things we're going to do? First, a questions round, then a popcorn feedback round, and then objections? All right. So let's do round 1. Just unmute or throw your hand up. Do you have any questions about the proposal as it's written? Is there anything here that just doesn't make sense and that you need clarified?
Okay. I'll put this in the chat. Basically, James, you'll write the rationale and do the voting process if we consent to this. And you, you don't need any kind of extra compensation, just as that general proposal thing about this is just about your time that is the resource here.
100%. That's right. Yeah, I'm not asking for any compensation to do this time, but I would hope that doesn't set a precedent, right? In the future, as if we do embrace this process of going through a consent process like this, it probably should be a compensated task to take the Notion document right here and fashion it into the, what do we have, 500 or 1,000 words that go as our official rationale.
Mhm, mhm.
And when it comes to writing that rationale, I would just draw on this and this. I would just slim this down. This is like a first draft of how I would want to rationalize this. And so there wouldn't be any new thoughts in the rationale unless we add them together right now. But I would just be staying faithful to what I'm already writing here in the Notion doc. Well, if other clarifying questions come up, feel free to ask those as we go. But let's jump now just to a feedback round. Your feedback can be very short. You can say love it or hate it. You can pass when it comes to you, or if you have more extensive thoughts and want to speak for a minute or so, feel free to do that. I'm just going to go down the list and call people out to share your initial thoughts on this proposal as it's written. So just moving through the list. Scott, what do you think?
Scott, is he still here? Oh, he left for the thing.
Yeah, I'm
Oh no,
here.
he's still here. Oh yeah.
I want to abstain from answering these questions, but I just want to interject one thing is that there is an overarching conflict of interest, given that Gimbalabs is part of Intersect, and you're also a DRep. And that's it. That's all I want to say on it. So
You're here.
thank
Yep. Rahat, what do you think?
I would pass on this.
And Monique, hey.
Hello. I'm comfortable with our next steps. I'm comfortable with the yes vote.
Martin.
Yeah, I feel guilty that I don't know enough about what is really meaning to be saying yes, but I tend to say yes because I just want to move forward. Yeah, I just love the tech too much to play with that, to do also governance. But I say yes.
And Harsha.
I also don't know enough, so I think I'll pass.
Emmanuel.
Yeah, I'm not really sure of what to say. I'll just say I'm being indifferent about it. Yeah.
And Demi.
So, my feeling is similar to,
Oh, hey,
yeah.
Demi, you're really muffled right now.
How does sound now? Is it better?
A little bit better, still pretty hot.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay. Right. All right. So, I said my feeling is to or similar to every other person. There's so much I do not understand to vote yes, right? So,
Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm kind of where you are. In that it's safe enough for now. That's kind of where I'm at. I left some notes on the previous one, the previous proposal, pretty much said along the lines that, yeah, I think, okay, we've spent a lot of time on this, but I think our energy needs to be put into future votes because I think that's where there are some things that I'm not comfortable about, especially this budget thing coming out. So yeah, I think we need to vote yes.
And Adrian.
Agree with the yes.
And Aaron.
Hey, the TLDR is yes, but mostly for the same reasons that you pointed out, that incremental progress is still progress, and maybe things need to change, and we don't know all the unknown problems. So yeah, just moving forward, I think, is a good thing.
And Newman.
Yeah, I do. I'm for it in the same good enough for now, safe enough to try. I do, as a Gemini, I really do see both sides of it, and would love to see the rationale and include some acknowledgments of some of the issues that have been brought up. Conflict of interest is one that's come up, and uh, there's a couple of other like bullet pointy kind of thing. It might be something to include as like a dissent opinion, just to show that Gimbalabs isn't, a monolith, and it's not just one sort of voice. Is that, but we consent, and I can consent to saying yes for those very reasons. Like, we get stuff started, and that we're not, we're we or yeah, the concept of the perfect being the enemy of the good. I do think that and I would love to know and be verified that the Constitution can be changed, and that these decisions aren't, hit the button and then everything explodes, which is sometimes a sort of rhetorical tactic Oh, this is the worst thing that's ever going to happen, and our treasury is going to go away, et cetera, et cetera. Catastrophizing. I don't think it'll be a catastrophe if we uh, vote yes. Yeah. So to sum up, just in the rationale, if maybe it could be that we put down some dissenting things like acknowledging a possible conflict of interest, if that's the only sort of sticky point uh, that we want to put down. And a final thing, Kevin Albert has written down a really good thing this morning, a few hours ago, with sort of really listed out, rationale statements. And I'm gonna copy and paste them in from the Discord, if that'd be all right.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
Okay.
I'm gonna. I just want to say one thing, since you want to put like the potential risk in there, is that the real risk is like the amendment to the Constitution. So that's a 75% threshold that has to be met to amend the Constitution. In the event that, and I'm not catastrophizing,
Yeah.
but that's a high hurdle. So I mean, that's where we're at with the Constitution, and a lot of people have that mindset that, hey, this is progress, this is a POC, let's get rolling, and then like, oh shit, and then you got to reach that same threshold again, and then where's the motivation when you kind of you might end up with a split, you might not. And I'm just saying that's just a consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing the round. And it is really good to get people's thoughts. And we have this on a record too. I mean, maybe we could even just drop the YouTube link to this conversation into our official evidence, right? Because again, that my number one goal here is to practice the kind of conversation we're having right now. And if somebody brought a proposal to vote no, or if we decide right now that this thing is not good to go, that's fine. We're engaged in this process right now. I hope that we do register on chain that we made a decision together. But let's see if we can get to that point. So now comes the part of the conversation where anybody who has an objection to moving forward with this proposal as it's written can bring that. Okay. What's an objection? It's a specific call out to something in this proposal that makes you that you think needs to be changed before we can move forward. Okay. It's insufficient just to say I don't like this part, but with a real objection, you're giving the gift of feedback by saying, hey, this part doesn't work for me, and I think we should change it like this. And this is a really important part of the process. So, does anybody have any objections to this proposal as it is currently written, whether in the driver or the rationale or in any of the details?
I should just jump in and go quick because I always jump in after a moment. I don't know if it's because I just don't like the. Oh, Mo is going. 5 minutes ago. Okay. My objection, and it is the writing of the rationale. Even though it's not like if the rationale was here and that we had the verbiage already, um, I it's just I guess it's I don't know if it's a clarifying thing, or if it doesn't really, it is a concern. It's not a full stop sort of thing, but I am curious about the rationale writing, and it could be sort of solved by like if you James were going to write the rationale in sort of a in an open way that like we can just sort of if you did it on a call or that we get some type of review, but I don't want it to. I don't think it's necessary to go through like a giant process. Anyway, something about the rationale. You know,
I think that's a great qualifying objection, and that would have been mine too. Yeah, I wish I had more time to really draft it, but this is as far as I got. But yeah, I think we should work on the rationale together, and we shouldn't just hand it to one person to get that done. Newman, to resolve that objection, what would you think about, and this idea just came up just now, what would you think about the rationale just being the link to this document and a link to the recording of this session?
yeah. I mean, it would be good to get like a summary, even like an AI summary or some type of like. Well, no, because I think this first those two sections that you uh noticed, I would love the because you were reading and then you went off of the script. I wasn't reading along with you, and I was like, holy crap, that's great. And I was like, you didn't write that down. You were going off on the tangent. So the there would be yeah, I do think that would be appropriate to put the links to this recording and this document because someone reading it would see our process, and our process is our product. Like that's the thing that is important moving forward, in my opinion. Yeah.
So just as food for thought, what if what if the rationale was this plus Notion link and YouTube link?
YouTube link.
How would that feel? I'm not even sure this is final for me, but just as you know, the new Constitution is good enough for now and safe enough to try. Our yes vote is aligned with the pragmatic approach that has defined Gimbalabs since its founding, embracing progress over perfection. We learn as much as possible. Like I would be personally very satisfied if this was the shape of the official rationale, right? We're not even using our full word limit. It's short and sweet, but then we're setting a precedent of saying, hey, here's where you can go deeper. And I would be thrilled to invite future engagement by just setting this as a model. But Scott's got a hand up. What objections do you bring?
The whole thing is out of order. No, I mean seriously, it's as a DRep, right? Like our members, if they're going to be involved in this choice, should have some idea or should have some knowledge on the subject that's being voted on. And so that's my only counter to this to like today and the entire process is that I think it was like 5 people said that they don't have enough knowledge on the issues. And maybe in the future, that's something that we look at. It's, having, I don't know, meetings or, in open spaces or something and bring up those areas that we're looking to, or that Gimbalabs is looking to actually vote on as a DREP.
I completely agree with that objection. What we're doing in this call right now could, in a cynical way, qualify as just a big charade. And I get that, right? That too, that level of engagement is a metric that I would love to check. And in the future, maybe we have some kind of threshold, like this DREP only submits a decision if X number of people have done the research and had an informed conversation about it or something. How would it feel if I added that as a risk here and a review? Like what's the risk? Not enough Gimbalabs members informed enough to have opinion, right? Review in the future.
Yeah.
Set a threshold for GL participation that gates the DREP voting. Something like that.
And
How
that
would that feel?
that can be async too, right? So it can
Sure.
be just like even a post or something in Discord.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's right. And one of my favorite things about the Gimbalabs Discord server is that it's a first draft of what becomes documentation later. And in a similar way, right? If we make a practice of committing and maybe, hey, listen, DREP compensation, what's going to come of that at the network level? It remains to be seen. But we can compensate each other for doing the research and forming an opinion.
Right.
We can, right? We could choose to use Gimbalabs treasury funds for that if we want to.
Mhm.
But Scott, to your objection, amending the proposal like this, does that feel sufficient or and be honest, like that's a real objection and we shouldn't just be like we talked about last week, being nice enough to move on.
No, I think I think it's good. Because like you said, we're at 69%, and in order to be considered an active DREP, you need to vote in the governance round. So voting as soon as possible is imperative, and so I think this acknowledges the current issue that we have, and hopefully it addresses it in the future.
Yeah, it feels really good to have that in writing. Newman, I didn't ask you that question. Does your objection feel resolved if we go this direction? Just to maybe after this meeting, take a few minutes just to refine this language and
Yes,
shape like
definitely.
this.
And what it does is it shows that, and thank goodness for our dissenting opinions here, that we aren't just a rubber stamp community, that people do feel comfortable enough to not just be nice enough, that that there's real governance going on here. So yeah, I think that shows it very well.
And I'll share an objection to this whole process or just a concern, right? Like not something that I want to change here in this proposal, but at the very same time that some level of engagement is necessary for governance to work, I relate to the way Harsha said it, right? He's been learning about other things. Martin said he's enamored of the tech, right? He wants to learn more about the tech. He hasn't read the Constitution, right? I think I think there is power in stating that as well. And even as we build a space to talk about whatever proposals come through, I hope that we can also figure out a way to honor the people who say, hey, listen, I trust all y'all over there for the governance part. I'm going to use my limited time, attention, and energy to make sure we keep building value. So there's a sweet spot there that we haven't found yet. But again, like this exercise gives us a chance to name it. Yeah, delegating, right? We can even be delegating inside. And that's the recursive nature of this whole thing. The pattern at the global scale is going to repeat in some form down to this level.
Yeah.
Other objections to this proposal as written? We've had two so far, and we got word that they're resolved, so that feels good. Other objections to moving forward with this proposal? And does the dissent part if the dissent part is just in a Notion link, is that sufficient, or should there be a note about dissent here?
Personally, I think it should be in the official rationale. That way, at least, you're acknowledging that it's acknowledged, and then you're also sharing that acknowledgement with those that are going to read. Because they'll typically just read the official rationale, or that's something that they'll look for.
So what are the key bullet points we want to acknowledge?
Hard to amend. Low that Gimbalabs, has a significant number of folks that are, not informed or engaged, that we're a community of builders and not necessarily governance focused folk. Yeah.
And the conflict of interest.
A conflict of interest one, yeah. As a member of Intersect, yeah.
Right, Gimbalabs, the member, right. I'll wordsmith these 3 points a little bit, but these are the 3 main concerns that we want to acknowledge on the dissenting side. Anything else to add to this list?
I just have one more question. Was it acknowledged somewhere in the Discord server that we were going to be, like, the goal today was to actually come up with the consensus to vote today, or by epoch's end, or epoch's end, however you pronounce it?
We talked about it last week, that we had a week to write these proposals. Right.
That was my understanding. And I think you made it pretty clear last week. It's just because of this threshold, that we needed to get in before the threshold. And to sort of speak to that, like, hey, let's get back to building, is that we don't want the governance part to sort of linger on too much.
And the promise I made last week was to not write anything until Wednesday, when I saw that I wanted to give everybody else the first chance to do this. When I saw that it wasn't done, I'm going to take responsibility for that. Right. And to me, that's a strong community. If we can get to the point where there's 12 or 15 or 50 people who do the same. Yeah, I'll leave the door open, but when push comes to shove, I'm going to be somebody who gets stuff done. All right, so I'm going to ask for your final consent. Does everybody here consent to this proposal moving forward as it's currently written? Gimbalabs is going to vote yes. We're going to put this rationale on chain after some final wordsmithing of these, but these are exactly the points. I just want to make sure they are cohesive thoughts. Yeah. You can register your consent with a thumbs up icon.
Yep. Give it a thumbs up.
You can say yeah.
Yep.
All right. Going once, going twice. All right, cool. I can't find my emojis, but we typically, if you want to pound celebrate icon, that is actually an official part of the consent process. So thanks, everybody. This feels really exciting. It's imperfect, but this is what we're going to do. And I'll make sure to get this done before epoch's end this afternoon. So thanks for your attention and for jumping into this process together. If this goes well, this is going to be the first in a long line of decisions that we get to make together. And like I said, after this session ends in 20 minutes, I got a couple things to share about Andamio. But what I'll say about that right now is that the entire platform that we've built is in response to this need to give people decision-making power that comes from somewhere other than the bag of ADA they hold. So we'll get into that later. Cool, thanks. Can move this one to in progress, and it'll be done by the end of day. So we have one more proposal on the list for today. Yeah, Sebastian.
Sorry, hi guys. The rationale, the link to the notion and link to the session in YouTube can be posted in Twitter, right? To the public.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Let's put a final draft on it, and maybe you can post it with our decision.
Please let me know
once it's
when
done.
that can be possible.
I will. I'll put a celebration message on the Gimbalabs Discord when this is done.
Okay, thanks.
All right, I'm going to hand it over to Demi. Demi, do you want to share screen, or do you want me just to open this one up right here?
I think it's better if I share my screen.
Great. And what usually happens at these Thursday sessions is we're going to go as far as we can in 20 minutes. If we don't have time to finish, we'll pick it up right here next week.
Okay, then I have to speed up because I don't think we have, I have to do a report by Saturday, so I'd have to quickly rush through it.
Okay.
Okay. I just sent you a request to share my screen.
Yeah, it's approved.
Okay. So let me just do that. Just let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. We got it.
Right. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this with you and the rest of the Gimbalabs team. Without further ado, let me get right into it because it's shortly time. So the title and description of the proposal is we are requesting collaboration with Gimbalabs. So collaboration proposal for Gimbalabs education team to support the Unified Cardano Student Nigeria. That is this Unified Cardano Student Club's Web3 development mentorship program leading to the May hackathon. So we have a hackathon going on here in Nigeria by May, and we are requesting the Gimbalabs education team to support that event, right? So the Unified Cardano Student Club has received funding from Catalyst Fund 13 to facilitate a large-scale hackathon event aimed at onboarding over 1,000 university students across Nigeria into the Cardano ecosystem. The goal is to provide students with essential knowledge and mentorship in Web3 development on Cardano, ensuring they are adequately prepared for the hackathon. To achieve this, we seek collaboration with the Gimbalabs education team, which is well regarded for its expertise in Cardano development education by leveraging, by leveraging the knowledge, mentorship, and community support of Gimbalabs. We can ensure the students receive structured learning, guidance, and the necessary technical foundation to succeed in the hackathon, right? So we are basically seeking support from the Gimbalabs education team to provide adequate structure or learning guidance for the students that will be onboarding and provide them with the necessary technical foundation to succeed at the hackathon event, right? So this is basically prepping them so they would be able to hack all the way by May. So the intended outcome is to equip students with practical Web3 development skills on the Cardano blockchain, provide structured mentorship and hands-on learning for 1 month leading to the hackathon, establish a progress tracking mechanism to assess students' readiness for the hackathon, strengthen the relationship between the Unified Cardano Student Club Nigeria and Gimbalabs in fostering education within the Cardano ecosystem, ensuring a well-prepared and knowledgeable student cohort ready to participate in the hackathon and contribute scalable solutions to Cardano. So the details of the proposal, we encourage the Gimbalabs education team to collaborate with the Unified Counseling Club by one, providing technical mentorship, hosting and facilitating weekly mentorship sessions, live demonstrations, and hands-on development guidance for students over 1 month, which is basically what I think we do with the mesh and 18 meetings or sessions we have weekly. But this would be tailored specifically to onboard the students and prep them for the hackathon event. The second is to develop an educational curriculum, right? Which is structured in 1 month educational roadmap, dividing key points into weekly modules covering DApp and smart contract development on Cardano. The third is short detail is implementing selection and progress criteria, which is to develop a selection process to assess students' progress and identify those who qualify to participate in the hackathon. So there's a selection process, right? Which could be, based on a specific criteria. Say the first group of students or the first 75 students who complete, say, up to a specific module, or probably have completed a course on the Endamio platform or something, right? That they can prove, right? As a selection criteria. And the fourth is scaling the initiative, right? Which is assisting in accommodating over 1,000 students effectively by leveraging existing Gimbalabs education frameworks and support structures. The impact and benefits. So for the students, they gain hands-on experience, Cardano development, making them valuable contributors to Cardano ecosystem, Cardano blockchain ecosystem. For the Unified Counseling Club, it strengthens its capacity to mentor students at scale and ensure effective knowledge transfer. For Gimbalabs, expands its education reach, experience in facilitating conference-level settings for education, attracting more learners to its ecosystem, and fostering the development of real-world solutions in Cardano. For the Cardano community at large, it encourages adoption and the creation of innovative blockchain solutions, ultimately contributing to the growth of the ecosystem. Evaluation criteria, right? Will be the number of students that's only completing the mentorship program, which we would have to decide on in a later conversation if the Gimbalabs team agrees to do this. Engagement levels in weekly sessions, attendance, assignments, participation. This is modifiable, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be this. It could be something else, depending on what inputs the Gimbalabs education team have to provide on this. Number of students qualifying for the hackathon, there's a fixed number of students as a criteria that will be chosen. Sorry, I hope I'm still audible. I hope my internet is not really stable. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sounding good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the quality of projects developed during the hackathon.
Oh, and now we just lost you. Where'd you go? We had him. Oh yeah, I can see on his screen it says trying to connect.
There's a link to proposal.
That's right.
Here he comes.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Hey, you're back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize for that. My internet is
the moment you asked, we lost you. We were doing we asked about it.
I don't I don't know. I think I felt it, right? Then I felt it happening. So let me just do the share again. So yes, can you guys see my screen? Please let me know. You can.
Yeah, we got it.
And I hope I'm still on track regarding time. So the number of students qualifying for the hackathon as an evaluation criteria, which is a fixed number of students. Quality of projects developed during the hackathon, feedback from students, mentors, and stakeholders, right? So we'll be doing like feedback mechanism from students to get their details on their learning experience and how we can improve such events in the future, right? And this will also give Gimbalabs an experience on how to reach out to a larger, broader audience, right? In this context. Then the timeline, we are looking to begin first week of April up to the first week of May, right, for the entire education event. So the first week would be students onboarding, foundation lessons on Cardano blockchain. Week 2, week 3, and week 4 will be smart contract development, fundamentals, hands-on coding, and app development in specific project ideas. So it's basically project-based learning perspective. Preparation week, which after the first 4 weeks would be final mentorship, progress tracking, hackathon preparation, and then the hackathon happens 4 days, right? It's a 4-day hackathon event. And we will be bringing the students to the event itself and, facilitate the event all the way. So resources required, mentors and facilitators, who are, which is based on weekly commitments from Gimbalabs educators. I think if one person can handle it, fine. We need to make this as simple as possible and as precise as possible because we're actually really short on time. Educational materials, structured learning modules and documentation, infrastructure, access to tools, platforms, virtual learning environments, student support, which is assistance in organizing sessions and progress program, and tracking progress rather. And also finally, doing like weekly Q&A sessions, after that, after the major sessions, right?
Yeah, and Demi, I know that you have a time constraint, and so do we. So we have 8 minutes to discuss this because you said you need to get something in by Saturday. So really quickly, what is the amount of time you're asking for from the Gimbalabs team on number 8?
Approximately 5 weeks.
Number 8. How much time are you asking for every week?
We're asking for 2 sessions a week, which is the coaching session where we would educate them, and then Q&A sessions, right? And that's it.
Okay. So to keep it short, right? And I know it would be really nice to do a much more complete consent process. What I can tell you right now is that we have course material already written, right? And if we're going to go ahead with this, you should use the existing Plutus PBL course and the existing Aiken PBL course. Okay. I'm not aware of your budget for this either because that's not written on the document. But it's time intensive to build a new course. Unless somebody speaks up right now saying they really want to take that on in the next.
Oh no, we are not asking for a real course. So we are not asking for to build a new course, right?
Okay.
And initially, that was my plan.
Okay.
But after I spoke with Patrick Tobler, who is the CEO of Christian, right? But Patrick introduced me to Christian, right? The co-founder of NMaker, and they have hosted hackathon events. He said if they take that course, that it's better we point them to that like after the hackathon event. But then if we point them to the course during the mentorship program, we might lose about 95% of them regarding interest, right? Because they have to go through the course and figure out a lot of stuff on their own and whatnot, right? And even with the Q&A sessions, they wouldn't still. There's a high chance that we will lose, a large number of them. So the best way to approach this, according to Christian, is to have like a live coding session, which is basically what you do, every week with the mesh in, and then you sort of hold their hands through the process, right? And draft out a set of topics, you take them through, right? That the critical things that they need to know, provide resources for them to continue their learning. Then we host a Q&A session to answer questions. and then we repeat the process for between 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay. And when you say we're equipping students, I'm reading the first bullet point under number 3, equip students with practical Web3 development skills. What part of the stack do you want to emphasize?
So it involves general knowledge about Cardano, first, introductory knowledge, and then practical experience, getting their environment set up, learning the understanding UTXO model versus the account-based model, and learning Akin and Mesh, because that's the fastest. If they go the Plutus route, they would have to learn Pascal first, which would make the learning process slightly longer. And Pascal has a relatively steeper learning curve compared to Akin and Mesh and whatnot. So that's the.
So background knowledge, full stack, most likely emphasize Akin over Plutus.
Yes, Akin and Mesh. Yeah.
Emmanuel, what do you think?
Go ahead, Manu.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Demi. Yeah, the fact that I am like directly or indirectly involved in the project, which is the Unified Cardano Student Club Hackathon, and me learning on with Gimbalabs and friends, and getting things done. I think it's a nice idea. Yeah, and I just want to wrap it up with I'm really ready to help in whatever way. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I think in whatever way I'm just I'm willing to help. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And Demi, what's the budget for Gimbalabs for this?
So it's not clear in detail. We actually didn't initially. The truth is, initially we didn't intend to come the Gimbalabs route, but personally, I feel that the Gimbalabs execution team is best equipped, to help deliver us. But there is a budget for incentivizing mentors and whatever what's it called, tooling or that is needed, right? But we haven't had that comprehensive conversation. We just need to pass this detail to the education team, and we look at what we need to deliver it, and then we put that in writing regarding budget. And
so obviously in the next 2 minutes, Gimbalabs can't say yes to you without a budget. Okay. Right. But here's what I'll say. We already do the weekly Akin PBL meeting, and you are welcome to bring as many people as you want to that. We are also going to open up another live coding session soon. We need a proposal for that, and I was hoping to maybe have time to start talking about that today, but we'll save it for next week. We're going to add a weekly meeting for just open development live coding sessions that could work really nicely for this. And I think that will cover you for the lecture part of this, right? Just use what already exists, especially if you're not sure of the budget yet. We provide these spaces, we provide these courses. You are welcome to use them, and you don't have to reinvent anything. It sounds like for the mentorship part, right? The Q&A and the hands-on mentorship, you need to come up with a strong proposal that convinces people to actually do that. But you just heard from Emmanuel that he's willing to jump in. So maybe the two of you guys can take this offline and figure out what's the compensation for mentors. And Emmanuel, how would you feel about leading that mentorship and Q&A push if you have some support, for example, like we're already doing on the Asteria project?
Yeah. Actually, Mr. David too is like he's also a Cardano developer. I know, right? Like, um, and he has experience. So yeah, it's something we can get along with, and since the resources are available, and but Mr. Demi, I think he has his own perspective of saying, yeah, I am bringing it to Gimbalabs, and since okay, yeah, I have my experience in Cardano development, but I am still bringing it to Gimbalabs. But um, yeah, it's something like I can like the way we are doing with Asteria, with supervision.
Okay, good. So we'll leave it there for now. Demi, obviously, without a complete proposal, we can't say yes for sure, but rest assured that any resources that currently exist, you're welcome to show up with 2 or 10
Okay.
or 500 people, whatever you can bring.
Okay.
Are welcome, and we'll
Okay.
work with that.
Okay. So final question, right? When you talk about the budget, what details exactly are you looking for?
What are you going to pay people for their time?
Okay.
If you're
can-
asking time from people, how are you
Yeah,
going to convince them to say yes?
true, true. Yeah, it's the same thing I thought. I just needed you to talk about, what other details you're
No,
looking at.
nobody here is going to be volunteering unless, I mean, chime in if anybody wants to volunteer for this. I know that I absolutely cannot, and it won't be me being the mentor. Okay. So you
Mhm.
need to bring a proposal that gives people a good enough deal that they are able to participate in the way that you expect them to.
Okay. And you're talking about like the incentivization you're talking about would be to the mentors, right? Not
You're telling me in
no.
this proposal that you need mentors from Gimbalabs. Is that correct?
Yes, just
Okay,
maybe just one person or yeah.
great.
Yeah.
What's that person going to be paid, and why would they want to do
Okay.
the job? Right? It's
Okay,
because
that's
volunteering
precise.
is nice. You can always tell a good story about volunteering, but we are
Yeah,
beyond
true.
that stage, right? And
Yeah,
and
true.
people have.
Definitely. Yeah, so definitely we have incentivization for
All right.
mentors, right?
So
So
bring a plan, right? You before
okay,
somebody can say yes to that, you have to tell them what you're offering to them.
true, true. Okay. So when next can we have this the conversation again? Because like I said, I have to like do a present like a structure, how to implement this because we have to start by May. Sorry, by first week of April rather. So when next can we quickly have that conversation about the budget? Can we do that tomorrow? Can we?
Next Thursday, same time, same place. Yeah, finish up the proposal, come with a
Okay.
budget, and your goal is to get somebody to say yes, right? You need a name of who's going to be doing the work, and they need to say yes, and they need to know what's in it for them.
Okay. So
Right.
so my final words would be, if there's anyone in here who has an interest in supporting, as a mentor, you've taken the Gimbalabs course or you have experience with education, please reach out to me on Discord. I am Alpha Centauri, right, on Discord. Let me share that in the chat. So just reach out to me between now and Saturday, so we can have that conversation. Thank you.
Thanks. Awesome. Well, this is exciting. I really hope this does work out. And rest assured, right? I know that you have a report due a couple days from now. Of course, you can use the existing live coding sessions and the existing content. So I do hope that helps. Thanks.
And that a partnership, that you do have at least the idea of the support from Gimbalabs. Like we're welcoming this student group, and now we're just trying to figure out in our governance way of how best to support them, and if anything needs to change, and etc. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to talking this through next week. I think this is exactly what Gimbalabs should be doing. I think it fits our driver. Where a lot of the things we're building is so that student groups can use this. I know that Emmanuel and I have focused on this in the past.
Okay.
And some of the infrastructure that you're asking about right here, Andamio has already built it. So we're going to end this session. Anybody who's watching on YouTube, we meet on Thursdays at 14:30 UTC time. And you can find the link to this meeting at gimbalabs.com/calendar. So drop by and join us on this governance journey. Thanks, y'all.